up, G Show Land, and welcome to another episode of the G Show Podcast. I am G1, and this is the Godzilla Block Party. And it's not only any block party, it is the final block party of the freaking year. That's right, the 2019 year-end review is upon us. We are going in deep with everything that came out this year in regards to Godzilla. And there has been a ton of things. This year has been stacked, if anything. Seriously, you talk about Godzilla merchandise and movies and news. This has been one of the best years for Godzilla in terms of its name being out in the public. But before we get on to our journey through the year, let me introduce you to my cohorts, my co-host, love of my lives, my brother, Cam C1. Andrew, what's going on?
Oh, not a heck of a whole lot, man. Just reflecting on the year.
Reflecting on the year. Also joining us once again, as always, my right hand when it comes to Godzilla on the G Show, my brother Chase, Megzy, a.k.a. G73. What's going on?
Not much, man. It's a nice Christmas, ending it off in a decent 2020 celebration.
That's right. Oh, my God. So 2020 is coming up. The big news of 2020 is definitely Godzilla vs. Kong being pushed back. We got to wait a whole year almost for that movie to come out. November now instead of March. We've done several different podcasts on that, probably several different podcasts. That's not even a word, I made it up. Different podcasts on Godzilla vs. Kong and when's the trailer dropping and what do you think is going to happen? Is it getting pushed back? What is going on? And right now we know it's got pushed back. Right now, word on the streets is they're doing heavy reshoots. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen, because it's going to be a bumpy ride until we get our legitimate, because we got our first glimpse of it. Remember, Kong was punching Godzilla.
It's going to be the battle of Titans on and off screen up to here.
That's right. That's right. But we got that coming up. But let's talk about what we had this year. This year we had a ton of things. And the most notable thing, of course, was Godzilla King of the Monsters, Legendary's follow-up to Kong Skull Island, but the actual sequel to 2014's Godzilla. And in this movie, they gave us more monsters. They gave us the classic Toho Kaiju Sans One Raw, you son of a bitch, Michael Dougherty. And an action-packed spectacle that delivered for the fan base pretty much on all cylinders, except it did not do enough monetary, money-wise, and it really left a bleak look for Godzilla in terms of the audience. I mean, the fandom loved it, but outside of that, it just fizzled and pretty much turned into what should have been Rodan's real Raw. It's not there. It's not there, and I'm mad. So, but that's probably the biggest piece of the news this year. So, just to touch on that again, I'm going to start with you, Chase. Just to touch on that again, I mean, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, it was, like, seriously, it was what we were wanting, what we were hoping for. We got it. And then everything that happened afterwards, the disappointment set in. Like, reflecting on that, how do you feel about it all now that you could sit back? I'm pretty sure you've watched the movie several times at home already. But now that you could just sit back, take it all in, and now with a clear, conscious mind, what's your feelings on that?
It's one of those things that I haven't really actually reflected on. It happened, and there's nothing that can have been fixed about it. I just wish that I want to know where exactly went wrong with the film. I want to know exactly where at what point, because it felt like now, looking back at everything, because I go back and forth from, like, when I follow these movies, like I'm doing it right now for Godzilla vs. Kong, when that started its filming, and for King of the Monsters, I go back and I look at how the studios transition from being optimistic to somewhat pessimistic about their films. And it felt like when Mike Dougherty started doing interviews and started to tell people, like, hey, the only way this is going to work is if you bring you and your 10 friends and go see it as many times as you can. I realize now he wasn't exactly just saying that tongue-in-cheek. He was actually meaning it.
Wow.
And I think that is where that is more heartbreaking than anything. Because he didn't say that in his one interview. He said that in, like, once the stuff during, like, the February stuff turned around, when they got more closer to the May release, he started saying it quite a bit, even on his social media. And at that point, I'm like, well, so did you know something about this movie going in that you didn't want to admit? Or did the studio not letting you go back and change things because you guys, at that point it'd be the money is not there to change it, or what? But at this point, I stand with the fact that the studio and Mike Dougherty knew something was going on with this film and didn't take the initiative to correct it when they could have. And that's what all of those signs were leading up to. And I feel the same way about certain things with Godzilla versus Kong that I've been seeing, and with King of the Monsters that I was seeing. And so, reflecting back on the film as a Godzilla fan, I love the film. It's not a perfect film, but I love the film. I think it's one of the better Godzilla films that we've gotten in a while. And it's just a shame that the certain things that didn't add up in the film really made the film lackluster with it. Now, like I said, I don't think the reason the monetization of the film was due to the film itself. I think that was just all about the marketing and the placement, and I feel like the studio had the ball in their hands and then they fumbled it. So that's where I just think it all ends. But reflecting back on it, it's a movie that I'll watch and cherish, but it's disappointing in the way Legendary and Warner Brothers acted on the film. So that's where I stand with that.
Got you. Gam, same thing. Upon reflection, now that the year's over, what are your feelings towards everything?
Well, when it comes to, like, the monetary stuff, personally, I couldn't care less. Like, the movie's out, I have it, and that's that. It didn't make money, and that's disappointing, but it is what it is. Now, as for the film itself, I still love it. It's probably one of the better blockbusters to come out this year. Last Jedi. I still pop it in every now and then. I still enjoy the hell out of it. I still enjoy my 4K copy. It sits proudly with my other Godzilla movies and my other monster movies in my Blu-ray case now, and that's pretty much it. Is it in my top 10 Godzilla movies anymore? Probably not. But it's still thoroughly enjoyable to me, and I can foresee myself enjoying it years and years and years into the future.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thinking back on it, like I echo Chase's sentiments, and there's certain things he just said, like I never even picked up on. It makes so much sense. Michael Dougherty saying, "Hey, man, take 10 of your friends to go see this movie." I just thought, yeah, like you want to have a rollicking good time. Trust me, go check this movie. But yeah, now you're thinking about that the reflection on it, it's like, holy smokes, did they know something? Did they know something was up? At the end of the day, Michael Dougherty, my God, I almost said Michael Bay. Oof, at the end of the day, Michael Dougherty, he did make a movie for the fans. He is a fan. It shows. There are a couple of things about that movie I dislike, but on the whole, like Chase said, this is a Godzilla movie through and through. It's fun. It has a lot of amazing moments, and then it just misses out on certain things. Rodan's wrong. But outside of that, it was. I mean, Jesus, that has got to be the biggest thing that happened in 2019 for Godzilla. And there's still a ton of other things that happen. One thing in particular is the Criterion Collection dropping in October that has the entire Showa series of Godzilla movies on Blu-ray, and has King Kong versus Godzilla, the international dub and the Japanese dub. I think for the first time, like, you can legitly buy a copy, a legit copy, I should say, in the U.S. This was very huge for the collectors and the diehard fans of, like, Showa. Well, it's not diehard fans of Showa. I mean, if you're a Godzilla fan, you love the Showa series, you love the Heisei series, you love the Millennium series, you love Shin, you love Legendary. We'll skim past the trilogy. Just for now, the anime could go in, as Gam Gam would so eloquently put it, suck it. But the Criterion Collection, this was huge. Another big step for Godzilla going forward, I feel. Because here you have the classic, from 1954 to 1974 or 5. I forgot when.
5.
It was 5, right? Terror Mechagodzilla. On all the movies in between, coming out, and I mean, like, in a very pristine, awesome collection. I know a lot of people were beefing about the size of the book it comes in. I think it's gorgeous. It fits perfectly on my bookshelf. I turn it a little to the side, give it a nice angle. It's an absolute eye-catching centerpiece. I absolutely love it. I actually watched on Christmas Eve Son of Godzilla. I fell asleep, waiting for the big jolly old guy in the red suit to come to my house. But yeah, I had it on. I was playing it, and the transfer looked great. I have not broken into it yet. I have not watched anything from that other than Son of Godzilla. But I am really looking forward to, in this new year, to start watching the movies, especially because we're going to be doing these reviews coming up this year. And now that I have, like, the way they are meant to be seen, I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to get into it. And I'm going to start with you, Gam Gam, because you also have this set and collection. Like,
yes,
how important is this thing for Godzilla in general going forward?
It is both monumental for Godzilla fans, for the franchise in general, and for physical Blu-ray collectors. Like, this set is just the bee's knees. To me, that is. Like, it is the centerpiece of my Blu-ray collection. It sits right in front of my entertainment center. Soon as you enter my room, you see it, and you're just like, whoa, that's a big book. I'm like, oh, that big book, that's more than just a big book. And then I open it, and you see the discs, and it's like, you want to watch some Godzilla? We'll watch some Godzilla. The transfers, to me, are fine. Some are much better than others. Like, I will warn you, Disc 3, which contains Mothra vs. Godzilla, Ghidorah of the Three-Headed Monster, and Astro Monster, have tiny issues to them.
Okay.
But that's pretty much the only one out of the whole collection that has issues to it. Everything else is pretty pristine, and it's a source of contention I have with the fandom, because they seem to hark on this thing, and a lot of them don't realize that it's not Criterion's fault that Disc 3 ended up the way that it did. Because literally with these transfers, the only actual remastering that was done was the 2011 Blu-ray with Godzilla 54. Every other one is pretty much just a straight rip of the 2008 Toho Blu-rays given subtitles and put on these discs by Criterion, with a little contrast work done to them. And that's all Toho allowed them to do. They did not allow them to do actual remasters of any of the other movies besides G54, for whatever reason. But like I said, they're fine. They're watchable. And just the fact of having this big old collection, having the entire Showa era without having to track down Kraken or Classic Media or any Media Blasters or any of these other companies that'll charge whatever prices they want and just have everything one concrete price, to me is fantastic. Not to mention, I think the price of admission alone is worth having the Japanese version of King Kong vs. Godzilla legitimately without having to buy a leg boot.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree with that. And that was one of them that I've been, really, really clamoring for a long time. I mean, I have the VHS from back in the day. You know what I mean? And yes, it's the Japanese version. All of my Godzilla movies on VHS were the Japanese versions. I love those versions, and I love my VHSs, and I'll be damned if anybody lays a hand on my Holy Grail box. But having it now, legit, I mean, it was everything, because I had watched, it was crazy, one of the, oh my God, one of those channels out here that's not like a cable channel, what do you call those channels? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Public broadcasting.
Public broadcast, thank you, sir. It was one of those channels. It was a public broadcast channel. And one day, I'm just flipping through it. I hear Godzilla. I go, wait a minute, what's that? And I go, and it was King Kong versus Godzilla. And I was like, holy smokes, like, I haven't seen this on TV, all right? Like, on a channel on TV that's not cable or something in shit since I was a kid. So I sat there, I watched it, I enjoyed it. And now that I have the Japanese, because it made me miss going back and watching the Japanese dub. And now that I have it, I'm just like, and again, I haven't watched it yet. I've only seen Son of Godzilla, but I cannot wait to break this thing in 2020. Now, Chase, I'm gonna ask you the same question, and I know that you're different than we are when it comes to this set, but I want to ask you the same question I asked Gam Gams. What do you think this does or means, for Godzilla going into the future?
I don't know. It's a confusing thing to me, because on one side of it, I feel like it's not what I think, it's what I hope. I hope it allows Toho to make more types of affordable box sets for their movies. I'm one of the people that, I think it's great Criterion made a set like that. To me, it doesn't appeal to me, though, even though I'm only missing one film in the whole entire franchise, other than the animes, but I won't buy those. The Criterion box set to me doesn't appeal to me. It just doesn't. It's I grew up watching the movies dubbed, so there's my issue there. I don't have the patience to listen to things with foreign languages. I don't like reading subtitles just because I'm not used to it. I'm not grown to it, and I don't have the patience to actually do it. So the Criterion box set doesn't mean much to me personally, but I don't really know what it says for the future of Godzilla or what it means to the fandom, because it only means anything unless people actually buy it. So I hope what it does, though, what I would like for it, I would hope that Toho takes the initiative with it. If it was a success or not, it all comes down to what Toho feels. But I hope that going forward for the merchandising of Godzilla and the movies and stuff like that, I would like that. Jurassic Park is a great example of this. Every anniversary, they release a new type of box set, or every few years they release a new type of box set with deleted scenes, footages of exclusives, and Steven Spielberg stuff. They do this every few years or every year, I'm not sure. I would like, Toho could easily do something like that if they wanted. Release a new type of box set going forward And then they, in my idea, the perfect box set to me hasn't come out yet. So if Toho gets the chance to actually do that, I think that would be great. And I hope the Criterion box set gives Toho that ammunition and that confidence to do that. Whether or not it appeals to me, that's just me, but I know I'm not alone in this. I know I'm not the only person who hasn't gotten it because of the reasons I haven't. So I hope going forward Toho looks at that and realizes, hey, we can actually do this. No longer do our films have to be isolated and imprisoned and locked in a vault. We can distribute them, and I think if they're really committed to wanting to expand Godzilla all around the world, they're going to have to unleash those movies from their vaults. They're going to have to make them accessible from the public easily. And I think going forward, that's the best call for them to do that. So
I don't disagree with you there, and I really do respect what you said. Growing up, you watched them one way, and the fact that you don't have the patience, and you definitely aren't the only one who doesn't want to sit there and read subtitles when they watch their movies, whether it be Godzilla or anything. So I'm totally 100% on board with that, and you know what I mean? Because that's a real thing. That's not something that you could just sit there and say, well, you can get over that. No, that's a legit thing, Like, I love My Cowboy Bebop, the American version, the American dub, the English dub version, over the Japanese one, but any other anime, I'm watching that the Japanese dub. It's just my preference. But when it comes to Godzilla, and I agree, one of the things I loved about the classic media releases was the fact that they had both versions. They had what I grew up with, and then they had what I want to watch now. You know what I mean? So I agree with you, and I would really hope that if there was a way for Toho to be able to grab some of these rights back, and so they can actually put, the English dubs with, the Japanese dubs and release a box set like that. Hey, and I'd be all for that. That would be dope, actually. Or, like you also alluded to, which I think is another great point, if Toho wants to do this worldwide thing, and this was another thing that this is a perfect topic too, considering it's the year in review, because that was like Toho's mandate for this year going forward. Like, we're going to globally brand Godzilla. That was their mandate. And if they wanted to do that, especially with, box sets of their movies, then, I don't know, like, say, we'll go on the other side of the world, another foreign country, they're going to have to, maybe do an audio track with another foreign language. I'll use Spanish, for instance, because it's easy. Spanish is pretty much all Godzilla movies. You can see them in Spanish. So I'll use that as an example. Say there's no Spanish dubs. Now Toho goes ahead and, yes, it's going to cost some money for them to do all that and get a recording. But let's say they do that, and then they do that for other countries, and, and then when push comes to shove, they just redub in English the movies. Granted, it won't be what we're used to. I know that we have certain, favorite characters or favorite lines, the way they're delivered in these movies, whether it's from the Showa movies, the Heisei movies, the Millennium movies, so maybe that's not going to be the same, but I totally see what you're saying and where you're coming from. It would be a really cool idea if Toho would pull the trigger and are able to do something like that. It would just be more accessible for fans worldwide, and for those fans like you, Chase, and again, you are not alone, for those fans who don't want to watch it in its native format, having to read freaking subtitles. I totally buy that.
Especially with catering to kids. Like children.
That makes a lot of sense,
especially, too. That's always been Toho's game, is catering to children,
Yeah, but that's not Criterion's game. But,
No, I know, but I'm talking... I get the Criterion thing, but I'm talking, I get what Chase is saying, too. If Toho wanted to be like, all right, Criterion got their thing, and it is dope, but we're going to do our thing, too, going forward. I don't know. It's a possibility. It's a possibility.
It is. There are currently other box sets. Like, I know there's the Sony DVD box set that you can find at Walmart for like $50. That has most of the Heisei and all of the Millennium movies. But that's DVD. They don't have no fancy Blu-ray sets because Sony just doesn't care.
You have to go and find those again.
Yeah. Sony just doesn't care, and it would be nice. Like, we've had Sony distributing the post-Biollante Millennium Heisei and all the Millennium series for damn near close to over 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably high time that Sony lets go and let somebody else handle the Heisei Millennium series.
Kraken releasing. Let me tell you something, because that transfer of Godzilla 1984 Revenge, I love it. Thank you, Kraken. Give it to Kraken. Kraken releases should get all of them and just be able to put them all out. I'm so down for that. 100% down. 100%.
Yeah, if Kraken were to get the rights to pretty much every Godzilla movie, that would probably be ideal for me.
Yeah, and then that would be good for everybody, the fandom. And I love what you said, Chase. It makes absolute sense. At the end of the day, especially them Showa movies, those are kids' flicks. Those are for kids, especially towards the end of that whole thing, with the exception of Terra Mecha. Well, not even Terra Mecha Godzilla and Godzilla vs. Mecha Godzilla. It's still a kiddie thing, but it was a little darker and stuff. Smog Monster being like the darkest one since G54. But everything in between, even Smog Monster with superhero Godzilla flying around the screen, it's really for kids. Except the part where it's not, like, you know, people melting from the glob-like horrors of pollution. I love it. Oh, God, I love it. Oh, my God.
It's put it this way. Smog Monster is for kids until kids are smart enough to understand exactly what's going on.
Serious. Save the world, children. Save the world.
I still heartily agree with good old James Rolfe. It's not for kids. It's not for adults. It's for people on drugs.
That's true.
It's true. But ladies and gentlemen, don't do drugs. Stay out of this podcast, kiddies. Another thing that happened this year, we got to get into, because this was kind of big too this year, and at the end of the year we got even more. So let's get into it. This year was big for the toy collector.
This year was so good,
right,
for people like me.
So with King of the Monsters coming out, you knew we're gonna get a ton of things happening. But one of the controversies of King of the Monsters and where we were was, and I'm going to leave this to my resident toy expert to correct me if I'm wrong here, but one of the two detailed and stylish looking, movie accurate companies, NECA and Monster Arts, SH Monster Arts, one of them weren't doing a King Ghidorah figure. And you're like,
yep.
Wait, what? Now this was huge. I mean, like, seriously, why wouldn't they put this out?
People were practically harassing Randy on Twitter over the fact that they were making one.
So which company was it? Was NECA not doing it?
It was NECA that's not doing it, no.
So, all right, I'm going to start with you being the resident toy collector, and then I'm going to Chase, because Chase knows more about the toys than I do. But in your community, with the toys and the way this was going on, I mean, because I know a lot of people were just clamoring to get their hands on these monster figures. It didn't matter what it was. But when they were talking about no King Ghidorah, and NECA is the more lenient when it comes to price, right?
Yeah.
What was it like?
So basically the toy community kind of blew up because Randy's pretty much reason, Randy being, I forget his last name, but he's basically the public relations guy for NECA. He's like the face.
Right.
But Randy's basic reasoning was that if they were to make it in scale with the other 6-inch scale figures, it would have to be about as big as the Monster Arts one is, and it would have to be about as expensive as the Monster Arts one is. So why should they bother and just, get the Monster Arts one? And people were like, what the hell are you talking about? The big Otachi figure that you made for Pacific Rim a while back was only about $80, and you made two versions, one with big old splayed wings and one with folded wings. And Monster Arts confirmed they're not making a folded wing King Ghidorah, so there's a market that's untapped. Why do you think this is commercially unviable? And basically, the fandom pushed back, and basically, after Randy made a statement, they left it to their other loyal NECA fans, not Godzilla fans, NECA fans who buy everything NECA, to basically tell the Godzilla fandom to shut the hell up.
Wow.
And it was a big old fiasco up until about around the time Godzilla V2 came out, where Godzilla V2 was out, Comic-Con happened, all that shit, and we just kind of gave up. We gave up! Fine, you're not making King Ghidorah, whatever, we'll get the Monster Arts. And now at this point, we're just kind of looking forward to whatever NECA has in store for the classic series, because another big disappointment that NECA announced is that they are not doing Godzilla vs. Kong.
Huh.
Yeah, they are not touching that license. So basically all we have to look forward to is the classic line and what designs of Godzilla that they're going to do, and if they'll ever do classic versions of Rodan, Mothra, or King Ghidorah, because they still have the rights to King Ghidorah, they're just not doing anything with it right now.
Wow, that's insane. That's disappointing too, because honestly, I was looking forward to a NECA Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong, but oh well. I guess that's the way it goes. Chase, I know you're more in tune with the toys than I am. Probably not as much as Games, but I know you know your stuff. What was your take on that fiasco?
That Randy was just bullshitting and giving excuses, because way before that, NECA announced that they had plans to do all of the figures for King of the Monsters, and then
including the other Titans, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I think the backlash from the fan came in, is because they said they were going to do one thing, and then when people were asking about it, they said, no, we never did. And there were people that were sending the proof that they did, and then they were like, no, we never did. It's fake news, which, like, I've had my issues with NECA for many years. I have issues with Randy. I don't like his business practices. On more of a personal level, I just don't care for NECA's quality that much. I don't think they put out quality figures, but that's just me. I just think that they like to sculpt turds the most beautiful way as they can. But that's just is what it is. Do I still think there are some figures that are better than others? Yeah, I do. I have a few NECA figures, and I like that version 2 Godzilla of the 2019 figure perfectly fine. But other than that, digress of how I feel about NECA as a whole. That whole fiasco to me was just an excuse, just to lay it out there, and I just don't appreciate it. I don't blame the fandom for acting as they did, and honestly, I'm kind of glad NECA's not doing Godzilla vs. Kong. I'm sure Toho has, or Legendary and Warner Brothers and Toho will have a license for sure at some point, excluding Playmates for Godzilla.
We pretty much already know that Monster Arts is going to do something. I mean, it's not a possibility; it's an inevitability.
That's a given, but I mean on the more affordability. If at this point we won't know, and honestly we won't know, I believe, until actually once Godzilla vs. Kong starts getting publicity. Sometime around Comic-Con, I'm sure there will be a big announcement for merchandise, stuff like that. So,
And that could very, very well may, because of the delay, change their minds, because maybe they decided not to do it because they didn't have enough time.
Yeah, anything's possible. But, with that whole backlash with the whole King Ghidorah thing, I mean, I think it's dumb. I would have perfectly been fine with a 12-inch, 6-inch King Ghidorah figure to sit alongside my figures to scale. I don't think that's impossible to do. I mean, I don't think us fans, or I don't know really if much of the Godzilla toy collectors would have cared if King Ghidorah wasn't as big as the SH Monster Arts or to scale to that. I mean, to me, I don't think...
None of us would have been. I would have been fine with a slightly smaller folded wing version of King Ghidorah that was like $80.
The Jakks Pacific King Ghidorah little toy isn't bigger than the Godzilla toy. I mean, just in the wingspan, but, that's a $10 toy. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just don't like excuses. I don't like half-ass excuses, so it's a shame, because I think NECA would have probably got a big hit with the fans if they did a King Ghidorah. I mean, they already got Mothra, Rodan, Godzilla. Adding a whole complete collection like that, I'm sure it would have flown off the shelves. So,
but anything I would have understood if they changed their minds on like Behemoth, Methuselah, and like Scylla and stuff.
Yeah.
But King Ghidorah is one of the big five.
Yeah. So
even non-fans see that three-headed golden dragon and says, "Oh, that's the one from Godzilla, isn't it?" Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. So it's a shame. It's saddening. It just solidifies more of my disappointment with NECA, more concrete. It just refills that malice I have with them. So that's all it is. It's just disappointment, and it just makes me unimpressed for their figures. I don't get excited when people announce, "Oh, NECA's having a new Godzilla figure come out." Look, I got the 94 NECA figure, Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla figure for Christmas, and I took it back to Walmart. Want to know why? Because one of the pupils was looking into his nose. So I just, look, I'm not going to, and also I was never interested in that figure anyways, but the quality of it just shows, and I felt bad that my sister paid the $20+ for it. I appreciate what she did, but the fact remains is that she paid a decent price for a figure, and it was just really embarrassing to look at. So when people announce NECA is going to put out a new figure or this or that, I don't get excited. So it's disappointing, because I wish there was a toy company that made affordable figures, but that's where I stand on it.
Let me just say, that's not poor quality. That's poor quality control. That's that one. Not all of them have eyes that look at their nose.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them in Walmart.
There are plenty of 94s that look straight ahead, perfectly fine.
It's just, and I hear that a lot. It's the luck of the draw with NECA, and I think.
But it shouldn't be that way.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%.
I think that's also an excuse. Quality control, that's bull. You're putting out a product that should come out to what you're paying for.
No, I get that, but there is that quality control thing.
You face that NECA figures are $20 and not $60 like SH Monster Arts. They have even less of an excuse, and they put out even crappier products.
And I don't buy SH Monster Arts either for that reason. So
all I know is, on the topic of toys, Jakks Pacific completely spoiled King of the Monsters when they showcased right there for everybody to see Burning Godzilla. What?
Yeah, and it's not even an accurate Burning Godzilla. It looks more like Toho Burning Godzilla.
And Ray, it was Fire Godzilla.
Yes, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry.
Jakks Pacific was wrong on that naming.
Oh my God! When I tell you, I was like, "Holy crap!" Well, I'll never forget earlier this year, or maybe the end of last year. It was probably the end of last year, where I was like, "There's no way in hell that they're going to have burning Godzilla in
by
this
the way,
movie.
hot news. Those of you watching that don't have any of the Jack Pacific figures right now, they're on clearance. Walmart's clearing them out. You can get the big 1 foot tall to 2 foot long Jack Pacific to Godzilla, not the big one, but the medium one, for about $5.
That's insanity. It's oh God. I mean, it is what it is, and the quality. I mean, it's there. I have a 2014 Jack Pacific Giant Godzilla. I love it. I do. I keep them in the box, but I still love it. Right? It's cool for what it is. But it just goes to show. I mean, didn't Jack Pacific lose their licensing to Godzilla?
No, I don't. I think they're going to do a Godzilla vs. Kong line.
Okay, so then it was.
Well, that's where I was going to chime in. They only had King of the Monsters line. I don't know if they're doing a Godzilla vs. Kong one though.
I thought they were among the list along with.
I mean, I hope they are, but I haven't seen anything with Jack saying that they are. Well, I don't know. That would be a thing. I haven't looked at that list since it came out, so I don't know.
Well, we're gonna have
it's to. It's possible, but I don't think the only one I know for sure was Playmates.
We're gonna have to wait for an upcoming toy fair, which they're gonna be starting soon.
Oh yeah.
So once that rolls around, we'll have more details as far as Jack Pacific goes. But some of the news that broke at the tail end of the year, and I'm talking about like right the week before Christmas, if not Christmas week itself, was we finally got on the store shelves the Playmate Godzilla line. I said that sounded very, very, very sexual. The Playmates Godzilla line, featuring Shin Godzilla.
I like the Playmate version better.
Yeah, I know, right?
Bunny ears? Come on, man. Go.
I mean, think about it. We had Shin Godzilla. We had Space Godzilla. We saw Kong. We saw Destroyer. I mean... Gigan. We saw Gigan.
Gigan hasn't been seen in store yet. He's just on the back of the box.
Okay. But in stores, we saw Kong, Destroyer. Now Godzilla's out.
We've seen... So far, we've seen Shin Godzilla, Space Godzilla, Destroyer, the 6-inch version of Kong, the 10-inch version of Kong, and the 12-inch version Final Wars Godzilla.
Oh, I didn't know there was 2 versions of Kong. That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't
one makes noise.
One, for real, does it now?
Yeah. The 10-inch version is roaring, and it makes noise.
Well, that's pretty cool. But let's get into it, because seriously, this is... This one had me cracking up all through freaking Christmas. I think that's why I got sick. I was laughing so much I popped something.
Oh God!
But look, let's start with the obvious here. Shin Godzilla. I gotta be honest with you guys. I absolutely love the way this thing looks. It's terrible. But I remember saying when we found out Playmates got the rights to do Godzilla toys, I remember saying, yo, back in the day when I was young and Ninja Turtles was all the rage, Playmates were making the toys. They did not look anything like the cartoon at all. I think the only ones that looked like the cartoon was like April, Casey Jones, and the Foot Clan, Bebop and Rocksteady. But the Ninja Turtles themselves, no, nothing like the cartoon. And not only that, they would do like weird things to the molds, like put leeches on their hands for no reason. Like, it made 0 sense. I owned them. I bought them anyway. I loved them. But I was like, it's weird. That was the last thing Playmates that I've ever bought in terms of toys. Now they got these Godzilla things, and I was wondering, how bad could this be? Oh, boy. But I really do, and I'm not lying when I say this, I like that Shin Godzilla look. Because as much as I hated Shin Godzilla's design and shit, I thought it was just terrible and goofy. This took terrible and goofy and ramped it up 1,000. And I'm like, well, if you're going to do it, you do it like that. I loved it. It cracks me up. It
you take that ball to the end zone.
Yes. Exactly. Oh, my God. But, outside of that, I mean, I see where everybody's talking about. I see the Space Godzilla. Destroyer. I mean, I didn't think Destroyer looked that bad. It's something with the face, though. I don't know, but this is just
far more informed on this topic.
Yes, you are. This was just my 1-2 cents, real quick. I gotta be, and again, I'm not even lying. I would more than likely buy that Shin Godzilla figure if I saw it in the store and it was at a reasonable price. And I'm talking about
$13.
How 14?
13.
13. Perfect. Because I was gonna say 15 or less. So I would totally buy it. And,
$12.97.
And hang out with it. But before I get with you, game, I'm gonna talk to Chase first, and then I'll let you do your spew. But Chase, you see these figures. I think you were one of the first ones to show me them. What were your thoughts?
So back when my dad was still around, me and him played with BB guns a lot, and we would go to the store and pick up certain toys that were cheap and awful looking for Targets. That's exactly what these Playmates toys would have been if my dad saw them. I mean, of course, my dad would have been kind of confusing because he loved Godzilla and I loved Godzilla. But man, that space. See, it's funny because that Space Godzilla figure from the side looked so good to me at first, and then when you look at it, it just looks like it's unfinished. It has no teeth. It just has a block for teeth.
Yeah.
Dude, no. I don't know. I don't. Gosh, I have Playmates took like everyone was complaining when Hasbro got hold of the Jurassic World toy line. Playmates was just like, hold my beer, man. We're gonna really ruin Godzilla. It looks like a bootleg of Bandai's figures, which is really sad. I mean, some figures look better than the others, which is really strange to me. I don't know why some figures would look bad and some figures would look better. You know, the Kong figures don't look that bad. I mean, just their paints look kind of funny. You know, I maybe this is the reason why Godzilla vs. Kong is being delayed, because Toho and Warner Brothers and Legendary are like, we need to find someone that's going to have our back when it comes to our figures. But, you know, I'm kind of mortified, you know, that those figures look like they were like shoved through a meat grinder, and they're like confused why they're not dead, and they're in a place where they're like in their purgatory and they don't know what to do with themselves.
Oh my
and so
God.
They're just in that stage of denial, like, what are we doing here? Why are we alive? And you know, I hope I hope that doesn't mean that that's what's to come with the Godzilla vs. Kong figures that are coming out. But at this point, I'm really not confident.
Gams. Talk to me, brother.
These figures are so bad. They are so bad. You want to know why they look like bootleg Bandai's? Because they are. Like, literally, Playmates has stolen literally all of their Godzilla molds. The Shin Godzilla is literally the Mecha Godzilla in a weird pose with bad plastic and just awful copied sculpting. Every other one is copied from either the Bandai Japan figures, the Space Godzilla, the Destroyer, and probably the Gaigan.
The final Godzilla
figures, which this new 12-inch Final Wars Godzilla is verbatim the freaking Bandai America 12-inch out for. Like, verbatim, I have it right here. It's the same goddamn figure, but made of hard plastic rather than good vinyl. And it has individually sculpted teeth. Ooh, individually sculpted teeth. That's neat. That is, but the eyes are just cross-eyed and dumb, whereas this guy has really good eyes. All right? And it's verbatim the same damn figure.
That's
like,
pretty.
It's just putting no effort at all into this line, except for maybe the Kongs. Maybe. But they're still hard plastic garbage with little soft parts so the kitties don't hurt themselves on Godzilla's spikes.
Oh man, you know what, man? A long time ago, I watched. I believe it was ECW, and they had one of those old school Return of Godzilla figures that came out in the '80s. Had the tag around its neck. I got one for Christmas. It's still one of my pride and joys of my collection. I still own it. And I remember I watched one dude go in a garbage can because it was weapons match, and he's pulling out all this stuff to beat people with, and he pulls out that Godzilla and literally uses it as a weapon and smashes a dude's head, busted wide open with the spines in the back. It was one of the greatest things I ever saw in my life. It was absolutely bloody, nuts, and gory. And you know what? Children should get bludgeoned with a Godzilla toy made of hard plastic. If that's what it comes down to, like, they will learn their lesson. All right, maybe I won't use this as a weapon. Stop softening up. It's Godzilla for crying out loud. He's a badass monster. From Japan. I love it. But no, I totally agree. I gotta look at the picture of that Final Wars Godzilla because I thought that mold looked good, and it is exactly that particular one, the Bandai one.
Like, literally, the only thing they did was straighten the head a little bit and individually sculpt the teeth and give it shit eyes.
And it's like a plastic that you can just hit with something like your finger and it just cracks.
Yeah, it's made out of hard, brittle plastic. All right, it's made out of the same exact plastic as the Big Jack specific. It's like you have the nice sculpted vinyl, right? Putting it right up to my microphone, you get that nice little sound. But hard plastic, you get that icky little tap, and it's bad.
I don't know, man.
It's bad, and as much as I like this Jack specific Godzilla, no Godzilla figure should be made out of hard plastic.
Oh my god. I love toy collectors, especially passionate ones like Gam Gam Z1, ladies and gentlemen. But seriously, go get yourself some Playmates. Support the Godzilla line, right? Am I right, guys?
Don't buy these figures. Don't do it.
Come on.
Don't even buy them for your kids because Bandai America re-released some of their vinyls, like King Caesar or King Ghidorah to GMK. Or freaking Godzilla 54 and Godzilla 2000. You can buy those right next to those Playmates abominations. Just buy those.
If you buy those figures for your kids, I have no disagreement with them taking shits on your carpets.
I saw King Caesar in Walmart about 2 weeks ago, and I was look at that.
Matter of fact, this exact Godzilla. This Bandai America 12-inch Godzilla and the Kiryu, the 12-inch Kiryu, I found at Target.
Look at that.
On Black Friday.
That's insane.
So they're starting to sell these at Target. So buy these instead of the 12-inch one that Playmates is ripping off. Just buy these. Don't buy Playmates.
It is our year-end review of Godzilla, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we still got a lot to talk about outside of Godzilla. We had a couple of things happen, announcements this year in the form of, just giant monsters. We just got word that the Gamera, the entire Gamera movie set is going to be dropping in the UK. So we got that Gamera set coming out in the UK, and it's got all of the movies, every single one, from the very first one to the very last one, Gamera the Brave. My one concern, because I own all of those movies except for Gamera the Brave, wasn't my cup of tea, so I gave it away. My one concern is this, because I have the Showa series and 2 beautiful Blu-ray box sets that I got for Christmas a couple of years back. I love them. It's actually, Volume 1 is in my PlayStation 3. I put Gamera on all the time as background noise to fall asleep to. So I can verbatim recite the first 10 minutes of that movie. And after that, I'm conked out.
The Devil's Bird.
The Devil's Bird. I love it. But the Heisei movies, which to me is still one of the greatest trilogies of all time, not just talking monster movies, just trilogies in general, I love them, but my Gamera 3 subtitles are so off, it drives me mad. And I mean, sometimes it's so off that the words don't even pop up on the damn screen. And I refuse to watch the dubs. Refuse to watch the dubs. So that gets me mad. So I'm wondering, I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to go buy a whole box set when I own all of these already. But on the off chance somebody might want to sell me their Camera 3, if it is legit with the subtitles that don't cut out, and they're good subtitles, not like it seems like they would take it from the redneck track or whatever it was called, then I'm all for it. I'd totally buy it from somebody. I'm just throwing it out there for 2020, ladies and gentlemen. Ha ha! Hi at your boy G1. But yeah, that's coming out. That's a big thing. But also, what one thing that came out this year, and another thing, and a sequel to that's coming out next year, this year coming up, is the Reigo and Raiga series, which was very hard to find and very hard to come by. And these movies are now, I mean, Reigo was what, 10 years old almost?
Yeah, it's actually, Reigo's over 10 years old because I think it came out in 2005.
God, man, that's ridiculous. The movie's almost 20 years old, and it shows. But yeah, that came out this year, and I was able to watch that off of Amazon Prime. Thank God for Amazon Prime. And I rented it, and I didn't really like it at all until the very end when it just got all weird and shit. And Kabuki Man pops up, and this is like, okay, what's going on? But I know you, Gam Gam, I know you actually like that movie, and you actually own, you lucky little guy.
I own both Reigo and Raiga on Blu-ray because SRS Cinema is, I don't know if they're still around, but when I bought them, they're limited edition run, only 1,000 copies being made, Blu-ray copies of both Reigo and Raiga. And they got some bonus features. They got some trailers. It's just a basic Blu-ray release, but the sheer collector's value is what appealed to me. I mean, only 1,000 copies being made. I'd rather get those rather than the $10 mass market DVDs.
Oh man, I can't wait for the $10 mass market DVDs because then that means that Raiga is going to be on Amazon Prime for like $2 to rent, and I'm okay with that. Because after Reigo, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to see Raiga, but Raiga looked a lot more fun.
So basically, Reigo is a passion project indie film by the guy who did the fan-made sequel to Gamera 3, which is Gamera 4: The Truth. And he decided to make Reigo as a original independent kaiju property so that he can actually distribute it rather than keep it only to film festival circuits like Gamera 4 Truth. And it's a pretty okay film. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's a nice period piece set in World War II. But if you know anything about the actual guy who's made these movies, he's a comedian first and a filmmaker second, and that's where Raiga comes in because Raiga is the straight parody of the kaiju genre, in the vein of like the scary movies. And I enjoy it for that slapstick humorous aspect far more than Reigo. Reigo's just plays it pretty straight until the end where it gets goofy, whereas Raiga is goofy through and through.
Chase, what are your thoughts? You've seen Reigo, correct?
Yeah.
Well, what are your thoughts on Reigo, and are you looking forward to Raiga?
They were movies that had cool ideas. You know, the idea was cool. I don't harp them for that. You know, obviously one movie seems to be better than the other. There's not really much to say other than the fact that they could have been a lot better. But I mean, if you're just wanting, if you are a fan of kaiju movies and just want to have something in your collection that's unique and not a lot of people are probably going to have, then I say pick up both those films. But if you're going to get those movies because you want to watch great kaiju films, I think you're going to be very disappointed. And it's just, I mean, like I said, the messages and the themes were creative, but with the lackluster special effects and some things that just didn't work out well because of budgeting issues. They can be hard films to stomach, but you know, if you can get past all of that and just enjoy for what they are, and just want to have Andrew brought up, turn off your mind, having fun time, then pick up those movies and go for it, have fun. But I can't really say anything much else.
now that the movies are available to a wider audience via the mass market DVDs, I can totally see and would probably completely enjoy if, say, Mystery Science Theater 3000 were to have a riff on it.
That is so perfect. That's such a perfect thought. Oh my God, I would love it. But I mean, so those are Rigo is out right now. Riga is coming out in the next year, in 2020, February, if I'm not mistaken.
It's supposed to be either February or March.
So that's that. In the terms of giant monsters. Now listen, I would be remiss here. We had a conversation off camera before we started, and you know what? It is 2019, and it is about to be 2020, which means it does mark the end of a decade. And I would be remiss if we don't go through the highs and lows of the decade, the 20 teens, because we got a lot of Godzilla in this decade, more towards the latter half of the decade, and there are hits and there are misses, and I'm telling you right now, there are misses, big misses, huge misses. Miss is so bad. I mean, it's just misses.
Like Miss is so bad, you'd think a stormtrooper was shot him.
Absolutely. So I want to take this bulk of time here, and I do want to talk about the decade as a whole and what it meant for Godzilla. Because I mean, we could go on and on with like other things like Ultraman and all that stuff. Yes, but no. I'm gonna just focus on Godzilla and what this decade meant for Godzilla, because outside of the 90s, this is possibly the biggest decade for Godzilla worldwide. And I can't even say that because the 90s is only relegated to Japan.
I'd say this is even bigger than the 90s and probably the biggest decade Godzilla's had since the 60s.
That's what I was course correcting myself there, because in the 90s, Godzilla only came out in Japan. And the only reason why we knew about or found out it was the internet was in its infancy, and you find these things, and then conventions when you can buy bootlegs and stuff. But only Godzilla vs. Biollante was like officially released.
Yeah, until '98 when Sony got the rights.
Right. So I can't even say that, but I mean, that was a big decade for Godzilla in its own right. But this was a big decade for Godzilla and Toho in terms of worldwide marketing and just global branding. So I want to just, right now, throw the darts at the board. 2014, Legendary finally puts out a Godzilla movie, an American Godzilla movie that more than made up for the mockery that was 1998. Wasn't everybody's cup of tea. It was my perfect jug of tea, if you know what I'm saying. I loved it. But that movie almost didn't happen. There was a lot of who's going to make this movie. At one point, we had the showrunner for The Walking Dead on it. Like, there was so much going on there. And there was a moment where it looked like it wasn't going to happen, and then it did. And then that first Comic-Con trailer dropped, and everybody's jaws dropped. And then the movie came out, and everybody, of course, went to see it. Without going into a full in-depth review, kind of like what we did with the Godzilla 65, where we went through the Showa and the Heisei and the Millennium movies, and we just gave our, quick hits. Godzilla 2014, Chase, it came out. You were younger. where were you excitement level wise? What was going on for you?
I was excited that for about since 2000 and some on 2004 or so, I wasn't into Godzilla, and then I got a reason to get back into Godzilla. 2014 was that reignition, and that set a whole new fire beneath my feet, and I was brought back to my childhood hero, and gave me more of a reason to get back into watching the movies and playing the games. I once I got into middle school and high school, I stopped doing a lot of the, I was more into Predator at that point, but I was into music and stuff like that, more music and video games and Predator and stuff like that. I wasn't into Godzilla like I was, just because Godzilla went away and I didn't know if it was ever coming back. But Predator at the time, AVP just came out, AVP Requiem, then Predators, and so it was more consistent. And there were games coming out, so I was more in that alley. And then they stopped for a bit after Colonial Marines came out, and then I got back into doing the Godzilla stuff and hearing 2014 and everything like that. So I was excited. I was like, wow, no way, they're really doing a new Godzilla movie, a Hollywood Godzilla movie, not done by Toho. Like, I wonder how this is going to work. And I started seeing the concept art for it, like the pre-image days of just fan concept art and teaser images. And I remember Legendary putting out quite a bit of just teaser posters of a Toho Godzilla and stuff like that with Legendary symbol and stuff. And it got me hyped. And since then, I was just on board. And with the movie coming out and everything like that, I remember just sitting by and watching the marketing unfold, and more came by, and I got hyped and stuff like that, and went to finally see the movie. And it was a movie I was proud of. There were things about it that I was feeling bummed about because I wish they would have done better on, because my hype over exceeded what I was actually getting. But it left me wanting more, and it established a newfound love for the monster, and that love now is never going to go away. And the movie's not a perfect movie, but it set a good stone on just a unique flick for monster movies, and it gave us the opportunity to have a franchise made off of it, and I look forward to the how long it drags out. And I thought it was a great resurgence, if you will.
Oh
and
boy! Shots fired.
I'm happy with it. I thought it was the merchandise came out for it, and it was great. I have shirts, I have posters, I have figures, I have books, I have stickers, I have a whole bunch of stuff for it. And, it felt great getting back into the avenue of Godzilla again, going back in the nostalgia of Godzilla and stuff like that, not to make it grim, but if you've been on the podcast for a while, you know that I lost my dad at a very young age. Getting back into Godzilla, going through the movies that him and I bonded over, was very nostalgic and bittersweet for me. And so it was also a healing thing for me, getting back into that line of things again. So Godzilla, with it having that comeback, wasn't just, oh, cool, it's just a cool thing that I remember. It was it's more to that, and it's never going to be it can never be described necessarily in words how it meant to me coming back and going back to that film, but 2014 did that. So that's where, that movie stands with me, holds a very big greatness, and always will. So.
Gotcha, man. Well put. Beautiful. Gams, 2014 rolling around. Your hype level for Godzilla is up all-time high because we're back, or you were just all right?
So basically, I've been following this movie since it was called Godzilla 3D to the Max. And it was supposed to be Godzilla vs. Kong. I've been a Godzilla fan and always have been a Godzilla fan since I was 4. It never really waned with me. So when it was announced that Yoshihide Tsubano was coming back to make a Godzilla movie, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Godzilla fighting this Hedorah looking thing all the way to freaking Las Vegas. Let's go, And then it kind of dropped off. We never heard anything about it, and it was kind of disappointing. We were still in what us fans call the wilderness era, which is the time between 2004 and 2014. And where we were just getting practically nothing except for indie kaiju films.
Or video games.
Or video games and Ultraman and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But then, 2012 rolls around, not 2012, 2010 rolls around, and it's announced that Legendary got the rights to Godzilla. And at the time, I had no idea who Legendary was.
Nobody did.
Nobody did. They're like, who the hell are these guys? And it got slated for a 2012 release, and we was all hoping it turns out all right. American company, the bitter sting of '98, if you will. We didn't want to get burned again. So 2012 rolls around. It gets announced that the movies got pushed back to 2014. No, it was 2011. Then it got announced that it was getting pushed back to 2014, and we were just like, oh, okay, I guess they want to take more time with it, make sure it's good, that's fine. 2012 rolls around when it's supposed to come out, and we get the teaser. And the lucky people who got to see the teaser, they were all ranting and raving about it, and it's good, it's great, awesome, fantastic. 2013 rolls around, and I think that's when we get the first trailer, and that's when my personal hype levels skyrocketed to new heights because, it's Godzilla, it's new, we haven't gotten Jack Diddley since 2004, And it was just such a great time to be a fan. I vividly remember around that time I would break out my old DVDs because this was before the time I started collecting Blu-rays. And I would break out my old DVDs and just have marathons, man. Just marathons. And then 2014 rolls around, and I'm absolutely blown away by the product. It was such a great movie to me at the time. It's still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. I still love it. But at the time, it's shiny new, rose-tinted goggles were on, and it's like I was just like, it's the best Godzilla movie ever. Oh my god!
Yeah.
And it was also around the time where I got back into figure collecting. NECA started putting out stuff. At that time, SH Monster Arts was 3 years into its line, and I had a few of those. It was just a wonderful time. And 2014, the quality of the film itself was standing, will still stand the test of time as kickstarting this new renaissance of Godzilla. Because this is what it is. It's a renaissance.
That was beautifully put. You ain't lying. Everybody knows my stance on it. I'm not going to sit here 5 minutes yabbering. I couldn't wait to see this movie. I had moved to Vegas. I flew back to New York. Literally, it was a year later. I moved to Vegas in May of 2013. I flew back to New York in May 2014 just to see this movie with my brother, with my co-founder of the G Show, my other family back home. Literally, because it was Godzilla, and it was everything for me. And I loved it. And I'll be honest with you, it is right now. It is my favorite Godzilla thing of the decade. It's my favorite Godzilla thing of the decade. It really is, and that's not saying that I'm shitting on anything else. This was my favorite Godzilla thing of the decade. It put Godzilla in a brand new light, and it made me feel like that is exactly what Godzilla should be without disrespecting anything that came before it, other than 98, which needed to be disrespected. But anyhow, so that's all I'm going to say on that. At this point in time now, it became a success. Like, make no mistake about it. It wasn't a sleeper hit. It made money. It did its thing. It had people talking. Gareth Edwards went on from Godzilla to Star Wars and made one of the best Star Wars movies of the decade, if not the best Star Wars movie of the decade, Rogue One. But that's for another podcast. And the Godzilla boom was now in effect. All of a sudden, we've got rumblings that Legendary is going to do a King Kong movie, but it wasn't going to be called King Kong, and it wasn't going to follow the same script that we've seen 3 times before. I've got no problem with that. I love King Kong. I love the story. Beauty and the Beast, for me, instead of Disney. And you know what I'm saying? So I'd rather see that version, the Beauty and the Beast of King Kong. So I'm like curious. I'm like, wow, they're not going to do, you know, the traditional King Kong story. What are they going to do? King Kong lives? Like, what the hell is going to happen? Because we've never seen a Kong movie outside of 2 sequels. King Kong Escapes and King Kong Lives. And now that I think about that and put it in perspective like that, those are 2 awesome names. It could be one film series. But I digress. So I was so curious. And then bam, you know, it's happening. It's really happening. We get King Kong. Well, let me phrase that. We get Kong Skull Island. And the trailers are amazing. And one of the biggest beefs about 2014 seemed to be rectified with this. And that was, they want more monster action? We'll give them more monster action. And that first trailer, like literally, I don't think I talked to anybody. I remember doing a review podcast on the Godzilla Block Party, and you were there, Chase. Games, I think you might have been there. Matt was there. Like, we had a jamboree. And, like, I think everybody said the same thing. Like, oh, my God, this just blew our freaking brains out. It was so dope. So dope. Everything that came out. I remember Matt saying, G95 saying, I'm not watching anything else. That's all I needed to see. And I was happy he did that because I wish I would have done that. I really do wish I would have done that. Because everything they showed in the trailer was everything I saw in the movie. And I'm like, okay, I saw the entire movie in my house. Bah humbug. I love the movie. I really do. But I was really bummed out when I went to see this in the theaters. I really was. Because I sat there and I was like, wait, I mean, I literally seen this entire movie at home. Like, all of the sequences. I mean, granted, there were certain things that were stretched out. The helicopter scene is still one of the greatest sequences in this decade as far as, like, giant monster action goes. I love it. Because, A, it's like broad daylight. You see everything crystal clear. And everything just works fine. And it's Kong being the most badass Kong I've ever seen. But then you have things like that, you know, Kong Cemetery or the oh God, where the skull crawlers was coming. That sequence, the slow-mo sequence in the gas with Loki running around with a machete and a mask. Get out of here with all that bullshit. I hated that. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But I, again, digress. Overall, especially at the ending, when Monarch, well, no, not even at the end. Monarch comes into play right at the beginning. You're like, wait, what? Monarch? This is a tie-in? That, to put it in perspective, at the very beginning of the decade, I was back home in New York, and my friend was filming this short little film called Kung Fu Bum. Shout out to Peter Lawton. He was like, dude, I want you in it. I got this idea for your character. Come here. I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do it. So I was there, right? We were filming. And then after we wrapped, we went to a bar in Brooklyn. And we were sitting there. And we were all just having conversations, like the crew there. And this one dude who used to be on the podcast with us, Chris, me and him, we start talking. Now, Chris used to be on the Geek Out with me. We start talking because the dude, you know, everybody here is movie guys. We all love movies. And and we all kind of loved monster movies. And I swear to God, we're talking about 2014 because it was, I think, 2012 at this point. And we're like, is it gonna happen? Yeah, it was the no, I'm lying. It was April of 2013 because I was right about to move out here. And we were talking, and we were talking about 2014, and this dude Chris was like, "Yo, how crazy would it be if they got King Kong and then they made a King Kong versus Godzilla remake?" I said that shit will never happen, but on the off chance it does, it would be the best thing ever. That was at the beginning of the year, of the decade, and here we are with a King Kong versus Godzilla versus Kong movie coming out, and I think that was probably the highlight of like just geeking out outside of Disney acquiring Star Wars, but that's another podcast again. And having Monarch be a part of the Kong universe was like, wait a minute. And then even not name dropping Godzilla, but name dropping the line dropping. In 54 we tried to kill this thing. We didn't know what it was. Like, that was dope. But it wasn't until the very end when the credits are rolling up where you see the cave painting, and there's Godzilla, and there's King Ghidorah, and there's Mothra and Rodan, and it was all three of them. It was all four of them. And I'm just like, what? And then Godzilla's roar, and that was everything for me. Everything. Like, I was blown away, but I'm going to take a step back now. Chase. Kong Skull Island. It all comes together inside the Monarch universe. What was going through your head?
It was a film that I remember when I was getting onto the train track of doing the Godzilla 2014 stuff. I remember hearing of and reading that they were doing a King Kong project, and it was going to be a legendary film as well. And I remember talking to the person that was on YouTube at the time about it, and I wasn't that excited for it just because King Kong was a thing that I feel like no matter. It's hard to do organically and uniquely. It's a movie that's going to there isn't King Kong's not like Godzilla, where Godzilla has many avenues you can take Godzilla. King Kong it's like Beauty and the Beast. Literally, Beauty and the Beast. Everyone knows how that story goes, and right. King Kong has always followed that track record. So when I heard that this movie was coming to light, I wasn't so excited for it. I was interested in it, and I honestly didn't think it was going to happen. But then as the months go by, 2014 comes through, and then they announce Kong Skull Island is coming a couple of years from now after that. Then I was starting to get more excited. And then when they said that Godzilla and Kong were going to fight each other, that's what really got more of the interest. But I wasn't necessarily still excited about that. I felt like, okay, this has already been done. We've already seen a Godzilla versus Kong film. I don't know why it needs to be redone. Well, after Kong Skull Island came out, saw that movie, leading up to that, the trailers and everything, I thought Kong Skull Island looked like one of the best movie spectacles of that time. I thought that it had it for a kaiju film. I still believe that it's one of the best kaiju films and one of the best Kong films. I love that movie a lot. I appreciate I felt like the tie-ins to having it be its own film, but also be a film within a universe, had really great merits. I love the I love the John Goodman, the Will Miranda stuff where he's talking about, in 1954 he tried to kill it, the talks of, him being attacked on a ship and, stuff like that. I thought that stuff was great because not only did it feel like this is its own film on its own, but it also doesn't just have shoehorned, nods to Godzilla in it. And they made sense, and it expanded the universe organically. And with that, on top of everything else, it made me more excited for the film because at that point I realized this isn't just going to be a remake of Toho's Godzilla versus Kong, stuff like that. This is going to be its own exact thing, and it's going to be, when at the end of Kong Skull Island, with them adding that with Mothra, Ghidorah, and Rodan in the cave and everything. At that point, I was like, "Wow, I'm really excited now for Godzilla versus Kong, just to see how is this going to be." I was more intrigued, and with the whole intent of Kong Skull Island, I think as a film on its own, it's a good film. I enjoyed the film. It's a fun film. It's one of those shut your minds off, just pay attention film. And it had a lot of cool stuff. I can't really say anything really negative about it other than just personal opinions. But after Kong Skull Island and everything like that, it really set the bar for the expectations for Godzilla versus Kong. So
right.
I'm excited to see how that's going to turn out. And, Kong Skull Island to me as a whole was a really cool film. It made me feel like the MonsterVerse, even though it didn't perform as great as 2014 did, it still was a film that was successful, and it made me feel like, all right, this MonsterVerse can be a viable franchise.
Right.
So I was excited for it, and I'm still excited for all of it. So, that's how I felt about it. It was a good film, and it tied into things really well. And the payoff was, I was disappointed for sure. Yeah, that everything you saw was in the trailers. I think Legendary just has a problem with that in general. But the film, finally getting down to see it, I was excited because the day I went and saw it was the day I got my driver's license. So that was cool too, driving myself legally to the theater, even though I was driving 2 years without a license.
I got you, brother. I got you.
So, it was fun. It was a good memory for me, and it was just all positive all around. So
Gams, what about you, man? Kong Skull Island coming out 2017, man.
So this is awkward for me. I certainly was aware of Kong Skull Island. I saw the first trailer, but after that, I kind of went dark on the movie because this was during the time where I was completely out of the fandom and just doing my own thing, playing video games, living my life.
Right.
And I kind of regret not being part of that hype because, Kong Skull Island's a great movie now that I've finally seen it and own it on Blu-ray, but I never saw it in theaters.
Oh, wow.
I completely skipped it. And I kind of wish that, again, that I was part of that hype, that I did see it in theaters, because Kong Skull Island is just a great movie. Fantastic. Probably this, in my opinion, the second best of the MonsterVerse. And I don't have much to say because I wasn't part of that hype circle. I just kind of wish I was, and I regret not being a part of it.
I feel you, brother. But I mean, you saw it, and I kind of sort of agree with you. But yeah, man, damn, I didn't know that.
glad that I didn't see the second trailer that apparently spoiled everything. I just saw the first one.
Everything. Before we continue on into the next steps of Godzilla and its evolution, I want to give some notable shout outs for the decade. That being Pacific Rim and Pacific Rim Uprising. That being Rampage, which, dropped last year. What other giant kaiju film dropped in The Wall? I gotta be honest, it's not a giant kaiju film, but it's a monster movie.
Colossal.
I'll throw that in there because I ain't mad at it. I gotta be honest, it was different. I'll put it like this: there was nothing that preceded that movie that my expectations were through the roof for, unlike a Last Jedi. But again, a different podcast. So I just, I'm going to throw those movies in there. And
The Meg.
The Meg, very good, thank you. Jurassic World 1 and 2.
Would you really consider that a kaiju movie?
Yes, it's a giant shark, and it's not Jaws. It is a giant shark, yes. That, and I'm not talking just kaiju. I'm just talking about the giant monsters. That's what the Godzilla Block Party is all about. It's giant monsters. Have a good time. So the Jurassic World movies, The Meg, Colossal, the Pacific Rim movies, Rampage, and that one sequence in Ready Player One. Thumbs up. So real quick, I just want to, not dwell
one
on
sequence.
them.
Ready Player One had Kong.
Oh, that's right. 2 sequences, so it gets in there.
And Jurassic Park.
What was the
The race scene too also had a T-Rex chasing him.
He did, that's right, and it was definitely
three.
It definitely was the Jurassic Park T-Rex. What's her name?
Rexy.
Yeah.
Well, you mean unless you mean the actual model, it would be like Roberta, but or I think it's Roberta or Bertha, but never mind. Yeah, it's Rexy.
It's Rexy. So all right, real quick rundown of those movies, whether you've seen them or not. If you didn't see them, don't worry. Just say I didn't see it. I'll start. I'm gonna put them together. I'm not gonna be like jumping years. So the Pacific Rim movies, absolutely love Pacific Rim 1. I love it. It's dark, but it's I like it. Sometimes it's hard to see, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's such a classic throwback to everything that made me love giant monsters and giant robots. It was a love letter to the genre that Guillermo del Toro was like, I'm going to tell that story. Guillermo del Toro is one of those rare directors that just say, this is the shit I like, and I'm going to bring that to life. Blade 2, he made it an anime. I loved it for that, Hellboy. I can't even talk enough about Hellboy. I love those Hellboy movies. And then Pacific Rim, I absolutely loved it because I'm like, yep, those are giant monsters. Yep, those are giant robots. Yep, that's a rocket punch. What the fuck could you go wrong with this? So I love that movie. It was big. It was over the top. It wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but again, it was different than what we were getting in the theaters, and I respected and applauded that. Pacific Rim 2 Uprising, on the other hand, I wasn't really into the story as much. I liked that this was, years later. I love the idea of John Boyega being Idris Elba's son, but being reluctant on going back. But the story was whack. The action sequences, on the other hand, blew anything. Well, not anything, because Pacific Rim 1 had some really cool shit. But for the majority of it, the Pacific Rim 2 Uprising, the action sequences in that, especially at the end, in that giant New Tokyo or wherever it was, in the broad daylight, was fantastic. And when I watched it at home on the 4K for the first time, I sat back, I fell out my chair. I said, you kidding me? They did this? I can't wait for King of the Monsters. I can't wait. So that's that. Colossal, again, like I said, it was something different. It was something different. There was no establishment around it. It was just a weird movie using kaiju as, the crux of it. I dug it for what it was. It wasn't like on a best of list or anything like that. But as far as something that I seen once, I'm like, that's good. If for any reason I ever get a chance to watch it again or somebody wants to watch it, I would not say no. But it's not one of those movies that I go back to. Ready Player One. You had 3 giant monsters in there, all right? You had you had Kong, you had Rexy, you had Mechagodzilla. I already enjoyed the movie for what it was, but not knowing that they were going to be able to have Mechagodzilla in there, like, I literally didn't see that coming. I thought there was a thing that Toho tied up shit because, you know, Toho's Toho. I loved it. It blew my mind. Thank you. It was unfortunate that we couldn't get Ultraman, but I'll take Gundam. The Jurassic World movies. I really love Jurassic World 1. I do. I've been on record saying that Jurassic Park 1 wasn't really... I enjoy that movie, but I wanted so much more. And Jurassic World was exactly what I wanted. I wanted people to begin eating alive. People, tourists, just absolutely insanity. I loved it. Jurassic World 2. The beginning of that movie was good. The rest of that movie could kiss my ass. And that about does it with that. Rampage, I gotta be honest, it was one of those movies. That was the exact epitome of take your brain out and just stuff your face with popcorn, and it works. I love Rampage. It's one of the funniest. It's got The Rock, for crying out loud, talking to a giant albino ape who gives him the middle finger. I loved it. And the fight scene at the end in Chicago is awesome. And they do have elements of the game. And I'm not talking about the arcade cabinet. I'm talking about there's elements of the game in that movie. I absolutely loved it. It's a riot. So thumbs up. So that's how I feel about that. Those particular movies that came out this decade. Chase, I'm going to go to you. Run it down real quick.
So I'm going to start with the movie Super 8 first.
Did that come out in 2000?
Came out in 2011.
Oh, shit. Super 8. All right. Thumbs up on that one, too. Just a heads up.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Super 8, I love that movie. I thought that was a great, and as a good entry for Kyle Chwell. And Kyle Chandler, man, he's been under the radar in kaiju films, but he's been in a few of them with King Kong, Super 8, King of the Monsters. You know, Super 8, that was a good one. You know, it was just a rehash, and they got a chance to use the Cloverfield monster in a different movie. And I love Super 8. That was a good, that was a cool film. So I like that one. That was a thumbs up for me. And then you're going to have to go down the list
Pacific
again.
Rim. The Pacific Rim movies.
What's that?
Pacific Rims.
Pacific Rim 1. Love Pacific Rim 1. Big thumbs up for me. That was a perfect film. I went and saw that movie just to see if I could see any Godzilla 2014 stuff. Obviously, nothing came out of that. But anyways, Pacific Rim 2, thumbs down. But it's not the movie's fault. It's just that's one of the cases where a movie gets played with so many times, so many delays, and so many mishaps. It just, obviously, there's repercussions of it. So thumbs down for me on that one.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One, saw that movie in theaters. Thumbs up for me. That's just an all fun movie all around. Love the Mechagodzilla nod at the end, the climax of the film. That was perfect. I thought that was just so respective, and nods to Spielberg for doing that, man. I appreciate you putting Mechagodzilla in that. I mean, you didn't have to do that, but you did it, and I'm still in shock by that because you did that. So big thumbs up to me there.
Colossal, did you see it?
Colossal, I did not see Colossal.
Okay, The Meg.
Yeah, what's that?
The Meg.
The Meg, thumbs up. Love the Meg. Giant sharks, not just one but two. Jason Statham fighting sharks. Loved it.
Rampage.
Rampage, another thumbs up. That was a fun movie. That movie caught me by surprise. I remember when I'm not going to say what I did because it got me in trouble with Warner Brothers, but I remember that movie coming out and put in the trailer that came out before its release, and that movie caught me by surprise. Nods to Jason Lyles being George. For those of you who don't know, he played King Ghidorah in King of the Monsters. He was great as George. That was a fun film all around. Thumbs up for me.
And the Jurassic World movies. I know where you're going.
So I'm a big fan of the Jurassic franchise as a whole. Jurassic World is a big thumbs up. Jurassic World 2 is kind of a film where I understand what they're trying to do, and I appreciate it on certain things, but it was a film that fell flat in a lot of aspects. So it's hard. I can't give it a thumbs down because I do enjoy that film. So it's basically like a neutral ground with me in that one.
Gotcha. And there it is. There's Chase. Gams. You need the rundown?
All right. Yep. No, I got it. So I too will start with Super 8. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a pretty fun movie. You know, J.J. Abrams, when he's behind the director's chair, he usually makes pretty good stuff. Right, Skywalker withstanding.
Just couldn't leave it alone. We just couldn't leave it alone.
Couldn't leave it alone. Couldn't do it. It was too open. Pacific Rim is probably one of my favorite movies of the decade. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It is an absolute love letter to everything big, as in like mecha, kaiju, freaking anime, tokusatsu.
That one.
Everything is it is literally Guillermo del Toro showing his weeaboo-ness on the screen, and it's amazing. I have not seen Pacific Rim Uprising. I'm going to skip that.
What the? Okay, all right, go ahead. We're gonna have words after this.
Colossal was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was a typical Anne Hathaway movie, but with a giant monster twist.
Jason Sudeikis.
You know, it's a thing. After that, the Meg's a good big shark movie, probably the best shark movie since Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, okay.
In my opinion.
All right.
Not nearly as good as Jaws. Nothing will ever
touch that. No.
But for a big Jason Statham giant shark movie, I mean, is better than the Asylum's Megalodon movies. Then after that came Rampage, and Rampage. See, I loved the games as a kid. Loved them. Probably some of my favorite times in the arcade, N64, PS2. Those Rampage games just... I was hesitant on Rampage because I knew they were changing the aspect from people turning into monsters to just animals being turned into monsters. I thought that they could have made a great dynamic with them still being humans, but mutated to look like giant monsters. But for what they did, for it being just a fun, goofy, dumb monster movie with The Rock, I love it. Is great. It's just been a great decade for giant monster fans. Just a great one.
And then Ready Player One.
Oh, Ready Player One. I don't really see that. It has giant monster sections in it, of course. The Mechagodzilla scene, pure genius. I mean, what other movie are you gonna see where Mechagodzilla fights the Iron Giant? I mean,
oh come on, Ralph. Oh my God,
it's so good. But overall, I see that more as a love letter to video games than giant monsters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I threw it in there because there were, like Chase reminded me, there was also Kong and Rexy, and I mean, it's not a kaiju movie, no, but it featured kaiju.
The kaiju scenes in there were great. Just absolutely fantastic. And that's probably the only movie that I can enjoy for more than just the monster scenes, of course. But the monster scenes that are in there, good, great, fantastic.
I forgot. I completely did not remember or recall that Super 8 was in 2011. I thought that was like 2008, 2009. Where now that I remember,
it came out early 2011.
Right. So great movie. I enjoyed the shit out of that movie a lot. Way more than a lot of people do. And I forgot about the Meg. I enjoy the Meg, which brings me to this question real quick. Hobbs and Shaw were in monster movies this decade. Who did it better, Hobbs or Shaw?
I'm going to say, just a hot take, Hobbs.
Is that The Rock?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Chase, Hobbs or Shaw?
Well, that's hard because I loved Rampage and the Meg so much equally. You know, I might have to give it to Hobbs just because Rampage was so much fun. I think I like Rampage maybe a little bit better than the Meg, just on scale. But yeah.
Like I have my things with the Meg in that I've been a fan of the books for years, and the fact that the Meg is pretty much the Meg in name only. I mean, it's a fun, dumb popcorn monster movie, but it's not the adaptation I wanted.
I hear you. I think we're 3 for 3 here, people, because I'm going Hobbs also. Rampage was fun. I love the Meg. I really did enjoy it. But Rampage was, man, that was like the second best video game movie, since Mortal Kombat 1. All right.
I say it's the best video game movie, like, ever.
Well, that's because you're young.
No, you.
Now, let's get back on track before we wrap this up. We still going, people. Don't listen. It is not only year-end review, but the decade. So bear with us. This is the longest
You might have to break it into 2 parts for those that can't sit when they have to, never mind.
Now they're gonna have to deal with it. This is gonna be the longest episode of the GBP this year. We're going back to Godzilla, okay? Skull Island came out. We know King of the Monsters is around the corner, and Toho's got something up their damn sleeve. But before they drop that, we got a little video game called Godzilla that dropped. And I'd be remiss if we don't speak about that because, yes, that was one of those things that in this decade that was like, wait, what? Now, as clunky as the controls are, it is still, to me personally, a visual masterpiece. I got nothing wrong with the Destroy All Monsters games and Saves the Earth and the Atari games. I just never liked the graphics. The graphics reminded me of that Playmate Shin Godzilla. Come on, man. So when we get the SH Monster Arts figures in a video game that you can play as Godzilla and destroy everything, I'm in. And yes, the controls are totally, Japanese-esque. But for the love of everything, man, I love that game. I really, really love that game because it was the first time I felt like I was playing Godzilla in a Godzilla movie. So, Chase, quick thoughts.
It was a game I was very excited about. I remember when I went to pick up my pre-order, the lady at GameStop gave me all of her Godzilla posters that they got for the game because I was literally the only one who pre-ordered the game. So she gave me all of the posters that they had. She kept maybe 2 just in case someone just picked it up out of the whim. But that wasn't the case. So I have a stack of those posters in my closet. I think I do. The game as a whole, I was excited about. The final product of it was I'm very disappointed that I spent the money on it. It was way too short of a game for me. It had I don't do well with repetition, so a game that repetitive I just had issues with. It was fun for what it is, but I don't know. It doesn't hold nothing will hold up to the hype of the old Atari games. And nothing will hold up to Save the Earth, Destroy All Monsters, stuff like that. I mean, I love the idea for what the Bandai game wanted to do, but with me, it was fun until I beat it, and then after that, I was kind of disappointed that I got it. So,
I said it once, I'll say it again. The game, fundamentally as a video game, is trash. It is hot.
garbage. But as a Godzilla simulation movie experience, I love it. I pop it in every couple months just to go through a run of God of Destruction mode or a run of King of Kaiju mode. I can't help but love the game, but I will probably never play online mode ever again for as long as I live. And I will probably keep the disc in as pristine condition as possible because holy shit! The game is no longer in print. Bandai Namco no longer has the rights to make Godzilla games. So this particular game, you cannot find it for under $100 anymore.
Yep.
You cannot find it for under $100. This game is now a pure collector's item, and now I'm pretty much treating it as such.
If you digitally downloaded the game,
your PS4 is now worth a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay, so that was that. Now, that was
well, hold on.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Godzilla PS4 wasn't the only games to come out this year in terms of Godzilla.
I'm not talking about any of the card games.
You mean the best one, Godzilla Smash 3?
Well, yeah, there was that, but there was also Godzilla Kaiju Collection.
I don't know what that is.
There was also the survival game that came out.
This little RPG where you could collect kaiju. They had pretty much every single kaiju Toho has ever had, including like things like Zilla and like the Space Amoeba kaiju and stuff.
What was this on?
It was a mobile game.
We ain't talking mobile here. You use the phone to talk on the mobile. Get out of here with that bullshit. I ain't talking about that. Nor the Godzilla versus the little girls thing. That shit is crazy. I don't hear it. Speaking of crazy, though.
They had that survival that other Bandai game, I think.
Yeah,
that had
but
the
that
Godzilla in it, and
that didn't get a.
It was
Ultraman.
It was the city shrouded in shadow. That was on PS4, and it had Godzilla, it had Gamera, it had Ultraman, it had Evangelion. Like they went.
And it was a story-driven game too.
And it wasn't.
And it wasn't interact with each other.
And it wasn't mass-produced or put out there for everybody to know about. Only people.
No, it was only in Japan, and
get out of here with that shit.
But that was because of Bandai's Godzilla game. Gosh, Ray,
it was awesome.
Bandai Godzilla did so poorly in sales that they didn't bring it over. They didn't bother.
And that's why that's all the time that shit is getting. Jump into the weird. Toho now, with the success of 2014, decided to capitalize once again on the success of Godzilla across the seas and say, we are now making a new Godzilla movie. And I'm not going to stay on this long. I'm going to give it its proper due. They made Shin Godzilla the most controversial Godzilla movie of all time. And I don't care what anybody says, that's a true statement. That's
actually reptilian.
Oh, you better stop that. That was a long time ago in another galaxy. But seriously, Shin Godzilla came out, and it came out here in American theaters. And I mean, the hype for this movie was truly bigger than anything Legendary had put out. This movie was hype because Toho was coming back and they're going all in, and the marketing was genius. I remember we did a 2-hour podcast on the Philippine trailer. It was insane. We would go, and that podcast got stupid views. It was insane. The marketing with the trailer, the persecution of the masses playing. Oh my God, this is something completely different. Then you had all the tie-ins, the crossovers because of Wano and Higuchi. So you had Shin Godzilla X not Ultraman, Evangelion. And good God, remember some of the pictures that were coming out of that?
Shin-Chan.
Shin-Chan, Crayon Shin-Chan. Like, dude, it was crazy. It was really, really, really crazy. and so is the movie. Absolute insanity. For some, it worked. Gamz won. He loved it. Hey, we josh and jive all the time here. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I'm not gonna shit on, how you actually felt. I will goof and joke and crap all over the movie, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, your opinion sucks, you're wrong. Although sometimes we do say that, but it's all in fun. It's all in fun. But at the end of the
We're
day,
not actually serious.
right? But at the end of the day, like the movie came out and it did for Japan, gangbuster. I mean, it won fucking awards. I think it won
Best Picture. Best 2016.
I can't personally knock that. All I'm saying, it wasn't my flavor of Godzilla. It definitely wasn't my cup of tea. I think Batman v Superman said it the best. To me, it was Grandma's peach tea. Piss, probably a little shit in it. I hated it. Couldn't stand it. I love Persecutions of the Masses. It was used in the wrong spot of the movie. There's some really great visuals. I will give you that. Some of the cinematography is fucking fantastic. The destruction scenes, things that made me love Godzilla in the first place, top notch. I can't get behind the look of Godzilla. I hate the different forms of Godzilla. I absolutely hate the transformation from that crawling with no arms to, small little 54 quote unquote Godzilla. All that shit out the window. It's not even a mutated dinosaur. It's a goddamn feral shark. Boof it. But that's just me. And before I let Gam get in here, I want Chase, because Gammy, I'm gonna let you get the final word. So, Chase, where do you stand with Shin Godzilla?
No, man, Shin Godzilla was one of those films one of those experiences, if you will, that I appreciate to a degree, because it got me my start with doing this podcast with you guys.
Yes.
I remember starting to do that. I just got off of doing stuff with another YouTube channel for news and stuff, but I will not name, because I do not want to mention that channel. But I got off doing stuff with that because there's differences, and I got on I saw the podcast with one of our buds, and I was like, hey, I want to do this. How do I get on? And then all that happened, and then the topic of Shin Godzilla was out, and it was fun just sitting in that pool of hype, that bathtub of hype with you guys. And that was one of the things that made me most excited, was like, what's coming next? What's doing this? What's the next excitement? Feeding off of all of our excitement was what made the Shin Godzilla thing fun for me. And staying up late with my insomnia, because I have it, and watching premieres in Japan, seeing trailers drop in Japan before other people would and stuff like that, and then posting them to the pages and stuff like that. That was all fun for me. Now, the outcome of Shin Godzilla, look, it's one of those things that I get I get tired of, and this is nothing on you guys, but it's just a thing where I've come personally to a place where what has happened, and there's no point in me talking about it or defending how I feel about it any longer. I didn't like the film. I felt like it just wasn't the Godzilla movie I expected and hoped would have come back after, a 12+ year hiatus. I just didn't like the influences it took, and it wasn't the movie that I expected. And so with the outcome of it, I didn't like it. It wasn't a movie that I was proud of or happy with, but I understand people are going to be different about it. Everyone's going to have different opinions. Whether I feel some people's opinions, they aren't in touch with their actual opinion, they're settling, which I feel a lot of people did. I'm just done with the whole, why is it a good movie, why is it a bad movie topic. I think right now the more thing I'm more focused on is going forward. but because of Shin Godzilla, I'm skeptical from now on going forward with Toho's live action movies. I mean, I'm interested, that's for sure, but Shin Godzilla to me was just one of those disappointments that I can forgive because it's just one film, and sure, it had some merits that I found interesting and weren't horrible, but other than that, it just didn't sit with me. It's in my DVD shelf, but it's probably only going to remain in my DVD shelf. It didn't make it on the throne of DVDs that I have, like my other movies. But other than that, it is what it is, and people like it, people dislike it. I'm on the fence of disliking it, and it's at this point with me, it's just. It is what it is. It had some of the best times of marketing that I remember. You know, I went back to actually the other day and looked up a video I have on my Megalon page they did an 8-bit of Persecution of the Masses, and I loved that video. It had the Godzilla theme in it and the 8-bit video, and it's fun to watch. And I remember just the hype leading up to that. All those trailers, you know, the start of Persecution of the Masses and Godzilla going through a rampage, and it looked fun. We were like, oh my god, why is he red? Why does he have these disfigurements to him? You know, why does his tail look like it has an ember at the end of it? You know, it was really cool speculating and stuff like that. So the thing that came out of Shin Godzilla to me was an example of what good hype and energy can do, but with, you know, the outcome of it just that's just irrelevant to me now.
Gotcha.
So it is what it is at this point now. Shin Godzilla.
Gotcha. Gams, I saved you for last because it's your floor.
Righty. I'm kind of actually the exact opposite of Chase, because I was kind of against Shin Godzilla during the hype and the trailer and the build-up phase to the movie, all the way up till the very end. I didn't like it. I wasn't interested. It looked too different for me. I was just like, who the fuck is this Hideaki Anno guy? Because at the time I didn't watch Evangelion, and why is he changing Godzilla like this? I was just pretty much checked out. I was just waiting for any word of King of the Monsters at the time. But when it comes to the movie itself, well, yes, it is very divisive. And I will never knock people's opinions over that movie. Even if they're wrong, because this is the second best Godzilla movie ever fucking made. It is a masterpiece. Masterpiece.
He's bugging.
No bugging. No bugging.
He's bugging. He got to lay off the drugs before we do this podcast. I'll tell you, people. Every time we mention Shin Godzilla, I swear to God, he pops something. No, my bad, brother. Go ahead. A masterpiece. Boy.
I finally saw the movie. I fell in love because this was during the time where I pretty much entered, and I still haven't exited, my snotty film critic where monster scenes don't fucking matter. It's just about the people story. That's why I don't like the Heisei era. And Shin Godzilla's brilliant. Shin Godzilla's absolutely brilliant from almost every aspect. To me, of course, I will acknowledge why you guys don't like it. I can see why you guys don't like it. I don't care, but I acknowledge it.
Oh man, you know, ladies and gentlemen, this is why we keep him around. so he could be the difference. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. We know he's wrong, but I love it when he thinks he's right. Mwah! Gams, I swear to God, I love you.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, that's pretty much Shin Godzilla to me. That's pretty much my number one movie of the decade.
okay, I ain't mad at you with that. That's wrong. But so I mean, like, so that's what I mean. Shin Godzilla again. It really did, divide the fan base, and we still, as you can see to this day, and that movie came out in 2016, 2017?
2016.
We still almost 4 years later go back, to each other's necks, back and forth with it, and in that regard, it's a movie that worked because we can still, unlike Chase is like, nah, man, fuck that. Like, we could be like,
I have shit to do, okay?
right. But I think something we can all universally agree on is Toho's next step in Godzilla.
Ooh.
And that was the
Can we just talk about it as a group and not individually?
Oh yeah, no, because we're gonna wrap this up real soon. But like literally, the last thing before King of the Monsters dropped was, and from Toho, the Toho Netflix animated series, not animated series, animated trilogy, which to me started off fantastic, and then just the second one was completely stupid. I remember having a podcast with Chase, and he mentioned something about Mechagodzilla City, and I was like, Mechagodzilla City? That's the greatest idea of all time! And it just wasn't executed the right way at all. And then, Planet Eater dropped, and we were just like, what the fuck is this holographic King Ghidorah thing? I mean, personally, and I really do like that first one, but because the other two movies suck so bad as a whole, this trilogy gets flushed down the toilet. It's terrible. And it's a damn shame because, again, the first one, I really did enjoy. And I love Earth Godzilla, or Godzilla Earth. Love them. The size, the scale, the mass. That is a scary situation. Every time I look at a mountain when I'm driving, I say to myself, what if that thing came to life? That's exactly what they did with Godzilla in this anime trilogy. But everything around him was terrible. Absolutely terrible. So that's my hot take on that. Gams, I know how you feel.
Okay, so the anime trilogy, when it got first announced, I was actually beyond excited. Because other than like cameos and references in other animes, like Crayon Shin-chan and stuff, Godzilla never really had a Godzilla-centric anime in his entire history. He's had manga before, but never an anime. And it was just an exciting time because it's like, I love anime, I love Godzilla. How can this go wrong? And then it went wrong. Like, Planet of the Monsters is okay. It's fine. I'll watch it every now and then. But everything else, garbage.
Yeah.
Garbage.
It nosedived quick.
It really did. It really did. Like these days, I could appreciate how you like Planet of the Monsters, but to me, Planet of the Monsters is simply the least terrible out of them.
I hear you. Yep.
I think literally the best thing that came out of that entire anime trilogy is the merchandise. I love my figures of the anime trilogy. But the actual anime trilogy itself, I mean, it was pretty much one of the main reasons why I even kept Netflix around, and now it got completely replaced with The Witcher. But
I hear you.
but it is what it is. They made something different for the sake of being different.
Shin Godzilla. Oh, he walked into that one, didn't he, Chase?
But it is what it is. It happened, and I mean, I'll eventually buy the trilogy on Blu-ray via a leg boot.
Man, okay.
But other than that, I'm pretty much just it happened. I'm done with it. I'll make some memes to spite it every now and then, but it came out. It was bad. I didn't like it, and yeah.
Chase, I know you don't like anime much, but I mean, it's Godzilla.
Yeah, and I don't like I just have never gone into anime, but so when Godzilla was getting the anime announcement, I thought it was going to be something that was going to be very interesting and fresh and unique and probably decent, and I was excited because maybe this will finally be the chance I get into like something anime. And Planet of the Monsters came out, and I was like, okay, not bad. I like where they're going to it. Then the next films came out, and I was just like, I remember I was on my phone for the most of cases of them. You know, it's the trilogy that made Toho realize that maybe they should leave Godzilla alone for another 12 years.
Oh my God, you ain't lying.
Yeah, those animes are crap.
Well then,
like I mean, it's hard for me to say, but it's like I don't even know where I would put it with Shin Godzilla in the animes. But you know, I mean, those animes were so disappointing,
yeah.
so boring.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I mean, like honestly, all three of us can agree that that wasn't right. And then we end this where we started off with this year's Godzilla King of the Monsters, and we've already gave our take on it. We've had reviews on it. We've talked about it extensively over the course of this year with the podcast from last year with the first trailer at Comic-Con to this year when they dropped that second trailer that was fantastic. Greatest trailer I've ever seen in my life. And then to the movie itself, which is at the end of the day, it's an okay romp for me. And definitely my co-host here feel a little different, but it is what it is. Now I'm just looking forward to seeing what Toho has got going forward into this brand new decade. We know that Legendary is, that they pushed back Godzilla vs. Kong. We know that it's slated for November. We know there's going to be massive reshoots. All we have to do now is just, sit pretty and wait, bide our time. When the first trailer comes out, fantastic. I can't wait to talk about it. I can't wait to see it. And then that's probably the only trailer I'm going to watch. I'm going to just keep mum at the end. If anything, any advice I could give to Legendary, it would be this, especially after this year. You know what you did wrong. You know why King of the Monsters wasn't as successful. There's a lot of bad jokes, a lot of Michael Bay humor you did not need in it. But your biggest mistake was marketing. Slow it down, let the movie speak for itself, and then just go out like that. That's just what I gotta say at the end of the day for that. I wanna bring this to an end here. We've been on for 2 hours, almost 15 minutes. It's been fun. I think we went through the decade. We definitely went through the year. I want to, real quick, though, give a shout out because something earlier this year just really it fucked us up, man. It fucked us up here on the Godzilla Block Party. And that was the loss of our friend Anthony. One of my, I met this dude online, and he quickly became one of my closest friends and confidants. And we lost him on Valentine's Day of this year. And it's heartbreaking. Seriously, I say that, and I'm not even, when you meet somebody like that, he was so full of life, and a lot of people didn't like him because of, he's the co-creator, co-founder of Godzilla vs. All, GVA Facebook page. I've done 2 podcasts with him, The Rise and Fall of GVA, or The Life and Death of GVA, whatever you wanted to say, because I remember saying that, and he would always say, no, we didn't fall, I killed it. And I loved him for that, man, and just conversations I had with him face-to-face over the internet, or me and him face-to-face just bullshitting, or phone calls. He was a genuine dude who loved Godzilla regardless on what he posted, the shit posts. He was so creative and just, he was a fucking awesome guy, man. And yes, he liked shit Godzilla. I'll rip him for that when I die. I'll get him. But, you know, he brought us all together. He did. I put out the call. It was just me and G95. I put out the call, and I spoke to him directly, Anthony. And Anthony is the reason why I have Chase here. Anthony's the reason why I have Andrew here. You know, he's the reason. And his passing this year, man, I'll tell you, it's a void, man. It's a void because there's nothing more I wish we could have done than had him talk King of the Monsters with us and know he was looking forward to that. The excitement when we saw that trailer at Comic-Con in 2018, like, we were all ready to rock and roll, and it to no end. I still think he's fucking with us, and I know he's not, but I still think that he's going to just fucking come out into the year-long hibernation and say, I got you fuckers. And that's what I hope and that's what I wish. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So I just wanted to really say, yo, Anthony, I miss you, my brother. I love you, my brother. And wherever you are, my brother, rest in pepperoni. Serious. But yeah, man, I'm sorry I had to do it like that. Before we do go, I do want to ask both of y'all one question. It's the end of the year, okay? What would be the number one, what would be the Godzilla movie, not the number one, what would be the Godzilla movie you watched tomorrow night on New Year's Eve to end 2019 and the decade? Gam.
That is pretty much an easy question. For me, it would be Godzilla 2000.
Ooh, fucking dope. Okay, great answer. I did not see that coming. Great answer. Chase, what would be your movie?
It's kind of a hard one because it's either Godzilla versus Biollante or King of the Monsters for me. My mind is like wanting to watch those movies, and maybe I'll watch both. But it's either going to be, you know, I'm thinking King of the Monsters. I might end the year just to give me some celerity with King of the Monsters and some just. I'd like to leave the next installment of Godzilla versus Kong still somewhat prominent in my brain as much as I can.
I gotcha. I would end this year with my favorite Godzilla movie, Godzilla 1984-85, Return of Godzilla. I love it, and I think that to me is the perfect way to send off 2019 and the decade that is Godzilla. We haven't had a solo Godzilla movie, and I'm not counting Shin, because there was like 5 different versions of that thing in that movie. We have not had a solo Godzilla movie since 1984-85, and good God almighty, would I love to see something like that once again. But that'll do it for this episode, the last episode of the year / decade of the Godzilla Block Party. I want to first off thank everybody out there who stayed with us and listened to us since we started this, I think in 2014 or 2015. Seriously, from the very first subscriber, if you're still here, holy shit, bro, or ma'am, dudette, person, I love you. Okay, thank you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate everybody that's been here along for the ride with us. We got a shit ton more coming up. So that being said, I want to thank Gam Z1, my brother Andrew, for being one of the linchpins in this podcast, especially on the latter half of this year.
Of course, and just to add what you said, God rest your soul, Antony. You were my mentor.
There you go. It's the fucking truth. And of course, my brother from another mother, you know I can't do it. You gotta be there. You my news guy. You my guy. I love you, my brother. Chase, thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate being here with both you guys, and I look forward to the next coming years, man. You know what they say, you can only go up. So, yeah. And happy 2020 to all of you guys, and all of you out there. For those of you that did stick along for the 2-hour plus podcast or so, there is a golden box buried out somewhere in Las Vegas.
No, it's
Go
not.
find it. You'll
No,
be
it's
happy.
not. You should stop that shit.
That's your prize for sitting along with this. And, as everyone's been saying, rest in pepperoni, Anthony. Yeah.
And that'll do it for us. Everybody out there, have a wonderful new year. Happy 2020 coming in. I am G1, and I'll see y'all next year. Peace.